Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om, I bow to the Lord Vasudeva. Joy to you, friends. We're reading from chapter 2 of the Gita and stanza 40. I'm still on that one because it's a very rich one. He said, "There is no danger of unfinished business, nor are there latent within it the opposite canceling effects of duality." Well, when you reason things out, there's always this play between positive and negative. It's very hard to get out of karma that way. But when you get into this inner flow, when the kundalini is raised, I mentioned earlier that the symbolism of the Mahabharata speaks of the Pandavas as being the chakras in the spine. And when Arjuna wins Draupadi in a archery contest, then when he comes home, he calls out to his mother, "Well, look at the prize I've won." And his mother, without knowing what the prize is, says, "You must share it equally with all your brothers." And normally that would be good advice, but to share your wife with your brothers would be unthinkable. And it is not a teaching in India. Androgyny is, I'm sorry, what is the monogamy? And monogamy or many wives, polygamy, or androgyny. I'm not quite sure what the word would be, but having one husband and several wives, or one wife and several husbands. There are plenty of religions or people who believe in one man having several wives, but Hinduism does not teach one wife having several husbands. In Tibet they do that, but not in Hinduism. This is not the usual thing. It would be a scandal in India. It's the only case we know where there are several husbands for one wife. But it's not, it's a deep meaning. Kundalini is what is represented by Draupadi. And when she unites with each of the chakras, she awakens them and turns them toward God. Well, when you are on this path, how do you get rid of the canceling effects? Well, each karma forms a vortex. Each desire forms a vortex around the ego. I want that, and you sort of rotate that thought around you. How can I get it? How can I get it? And so each of these is a tiny little vortex in the flow of energy in your spine. And we need to get rid of all those vortices. Now, if we do it in an outward way, it's sort of like understanding that in a bar of metal, of steel, if you turn all the molecules in one direction, then the steel becomes magnetized. Yes, we know that. And we know that there are two ways to magnetize it. One is by introducing an electric current, which automatically or reorients all those molecules in a north-south direction. Another is to put it next to a magnet, and the influence of the magnet creates that north-south orientation. Well, putting it next to the magnet is like having a guru. This is the greatest blessing, Shankaracharya said, in the three worlds, to have a God-realized guru. It is a great blessing and not one easily attained. Once you deeply want God, then you will find it. But then the other side of it is that you too have to bring in the effort, and the effort must be directed toward directing your energy upward far more than trying to go into the bar of metal and reorient each little molecule in a north-south direction. If you tried to do that, probably after you'd gone a little bit of distance, the lower molecules would begin to redirect themselves randomly as before. So to try to change yourself just mentally by working on this habit and that habit, you must do it. You must work with whatever faults you see before you right now, but it will not give you God realization. You have to get into a much more vital thing than that. One thing that will raise your consciousness is deep divine love. That raises all the consciousness toward God. But very few people have that degree of devotion, that intensity of love that Jesus said, love the Lord thy God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. Strength, by the way, means energy. And when all your energy goes upward, that's what he was talking about. But they didn't know words like energy in those days. So anyway, as the energy rises in the spine, it's like a river. As the river becomes strong, the little vortices that are on the bank gradually get sucked into it. And you don't have to think that I'm getting rid of this vortex, this vortex, this vortex. They just all get sucked up in the same direction. And so it is that with Kriya Yoga, you can attain that state more easily than any other way. There was one man that Yogananda met early in his life who told him he followed the path of Bhakti Yoga. That means the path of devotion to God. And Master said, but you haven't yet found him. And he said that if you take Kriya, that you can find him. And the man said, no, I want to be loyal to my path. Master finally said, look, you're in a room, and you're trying to get out of the room, and you're going through the walls and the ceiling and the floor. What I'm doing is showing you where the door is. And finally the man took initiation from him, and because his devotion was sincere, he had an experience of God within a week. These are scientific things, and we mustn't dismiss science. Science and religion must work hand in hand. They must work with love, with feeling, not just with intellect. They must work in a direction that will be ever expansive. And when we apply method to our religion, and then when we apply religious faith to our method, everything gradually gets directed in an upward way. Well, this is what the science of Kriya Yoga helps you to achieve. And it helps you to work out all these karmas that are like the electrons, the molecules turned in wrong directions, helps to reorient that flow in a north-south direction. And you don't have to worry so much about paying off this karma and that karma. Everything will get sucked up into it. You don't have to worry about likes and dislikes and the opposites of duality. You go into this inner central flow in yourself, and all those things get sucked up. So there is a way out of this great ocean of delusion. And this is why Jesus said, get away from this ocean of suffering and misery. You can get away from it. You don't have to pay the suffering of loss and defeat. And it's a constant thing, as I've said before, all the striving of countless incarnations, the sum total of everything that any soul can ever possibly do to achieve fulfillment, the sum total has to end in zero. You'll never get there by going outward and trying to correct things outwardly. You'll never get it by becoming supremely wealthy or becoming supremely famous or anything in this world. You'll only get it by going within and directing your energy up toward God and knowing that God alone, God alone, God alone is the truth. Joy to you.